Hello everyone, and welcome to Capricorn season and your love reading. So this Capricorn season is going to be quite special because not only will the sun be moving into Capricorn, which in the northern hemisphere signals the return of the light to the skies, but we will also be experiencing on the same day a fantastic once every 20-year conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. And of course what makes this one extra special and why we call it a grand conjunction is because they will be in a new element for the first time in 400 years. So quite a big deal astrologically, and I thought to celebrate I would do something slightly different for my last love reading of 2020. So I'm doing a pick a card reading. So you can choose between the three piles, and for each of them there will be a separate reading. So this gives you a chance to really participate more in the reading by choosing your pile. Take a moment just to have a look at the cards, see what you're drawn to, which image pops out at you or what crystal speaks to you. And then I've put some time codes in the bottom if you're watching this on YouTube, and you can just click on those and go directly to your reading. Hi everyone, and welcome to your Capricorn season love reading. As always, I'm going to be looking at the masculine and feminine energies and kind of where they're at in terms of their own head and their psyche, as well as what's led up to current conditions and then where things are going in the near future. I will also later in the reading be pulling some tiles just to get a few initials, and we'll finish off as always with some advice from the Universe Has Your Back deck. So let's get to it. Alright, let's find out what's been going on in the recent past. Oh wow, this is very interesting. So we've got two queens here, which I don't think we've ever had before. Two feminine energies, very, very different, but both masculine in the sense that this is air energy and this is fire energy. So Queen of Wands, the Queen of Wands we'll get to, but the Queen of Swords has turned up in a couple of recent readings. I think we had it in the October and the November readings. She's very cerebral, logical. She doesn't take any BS. She cuts through to the heart of the matter, and she doesn't suffer fools gladly. She also can be a little bit harsh sometimes, so that's just something to bear in mind. And then we've got the Queen of Wands. Now, she also made an appearance in the last reading, I think, for the Sagittarius season. And there was an interesting kind of development. We moved from the sort of one suit into another. I think we moved from the King of Pentacles into the King of Wands energy. And I think she appeared as the Queen of Wands here on the left. So there's this interesting sort of shift taking place, I feel, from the energy of kind of air to fire. And I think what it signifies is that in the recent past, the lunar person has undergone a kind of a transition. She's switched from quite a defensive position to a somewhat more confident position, a little bit more passionate. So she's thawing a little bit, not quite the ice queen that she was before. She's thawing, but she definitely knows her worth. She knows what she wants, and she is definitely not somebody who is going to accept anything below par. She's not somebody who's going to sort of put up with less than respectful behavior. Now, what's interesting is that in the middle we've got the Nine of Cups. So for me, this is an absolutely wonderful card. You definitely want to kind of have this turn up in a love reading. It's 3 times 3, so it's kind of 3 times 3 of Jupiter energy. Very, very lucky energy, very happy. It reminds me a lot of Letitia in the Geomancy deck. It's about an expansion in the emotional body. It's about positive emotions like enthusiasm, joy, and happiness. So what I feel is that, as I say, there's been this internal shift, possibly as a result of the eclipse or the, that recent Jupiter Venus sextile, that there's a kind of an opening up in the emotional body of the lunar person, where she's kind of, as I say, she's kind of thawing a little bit, and she's coming back into her feminine power. The Queen of Wands is very attractive. She knows that. She's very confident. This is the card of Leo, and I kind of feel as though she really is coming into her feminine power in the sense of being magnetically attractive. So that's very, very interesting, I feel. Right, let's see what's going on in her psyche. Yes, so here we've got the Justice card. This is the it's the 8 of Swords, but it also doubles as Justice in this particular deck. So she's come out of that fear-based energy that can sometimes, mental, kind of the mental body and the sort of rational mind can sometimes make us go up into our heads a little bit too much. We can overanalyze, and then very often we either become defensive because we're in a kind of fear, or we become very angry, and then we sort of cut people out. So I kind of feel as though she's coming back into balance, and this may be why we're seeing the appearance of the Queen of Wands. So she's, as I say, the ice is thawing a little bit. She's coming back into her emotional body. It's expanding, and this is showing up in her reading. So let's have a look at the masculine energy to see what's happening. Wow. The 2 of Wands. So interesting. It looks to me as though the masculine energy may have had a conversation, possibly quite a fiery or a passionate conversation with the lunar person, and this may have led to some kind of breakthrough. As I say, we do have the 9 of Cups here, which very often is about wish fulfillment and happiness. So there does seem to be some kind of passionate breakthrough here. Sometimes this can mean an argument. The 2 of Wands traditionally is also seen as kind of a gateway card, so it can sometimes be about making a choice of some kind. But we'll find out more, we'll clarify as we go along. Okay, so let's see what's going on in her subconscious position. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. So we've got the 4 of Wands here, which is interesting because it's a doubling of the 2, first of all. So it's a lot more stable. This, 4 energy is much more stable than 2, and it's also more balanced. So it's interesting that we've got the Justice card here, which of course is all about the scales of justice balancing. The other thing I should say, of course, is that both these cards, both the Queen of Swords and Justice, both represent Libra, so that may be relevant to you. I just thought I'd mention it. But this is really wonderful. So 4 of Wands for me is, in the minor arcana, it's the equivalent of marriage. It's a stable connection that's also very passionate and very happy. So it's kind of echoing this Queen of Wands energy. But, unlike some of the other Wands cards, this is very stable. 4 is the number of stability. So there's a stable future kind of that the lunar person is perhaps anticipating, that she definitely she's kind of moved into this wonderful fire energy, and she's looking forward to a kind of happy conclusion, if you like. So a further echoing here of the 9 of Cups, this sort of wish fulfillment and happiness. This is, as I say, the card of long-term commitment, of marriage, but it's not kind of staid, and it's not like the 4 of Pentacles, which is a little bit stubborn and staid, and is perhaps about commitments that are done just for security. This is about 2 people who really feel quite passionate about each other and who see a future together. You can see the sun coming up in the background here, and I don't know if you can see, but there's a bridal couple here surrounded by friends, and it looks to me as though the bride has got a bouquet that she's about to throw, which I think again points our attention to these wands here, which are now flowering. So this is very fruitful energy, you know, a lot of potential here for a bright future. So it looks to me as though definitely the lunar person is looking forward to commitment. I also should say, of course, that justice here can sometimes be about, you know, marriage contracts. So some kind of legal, a binding contract of some kind. She definitely wants a long-term commitment, and is almost sort of anticipating it, I think, with the Queen of Wands here and the Nine of Cups. So let's see what's going on for the masculine. Oh, wow! This is incredible. So we've got exactly the same cards in the lunar and the solar deck. So these two people are very much on the same page. And I think this was the feeling that we got towards the end of the reading that we had last time from Sagittarius season, where, as I said, we had a shift from the King of Pentacles into the King of Wands energy. And of course, that meant that the King and the Queen of Wands were a true pair. So they were on the same page finally. And we're seeing this in the subconscious positions of both people, that we've got, they definitely both want the same thing. So that's a very, very good sign. In addition to this beautiful Nine of Cups energy, I do see this being potentially very, very a good omen, shall we say, of a positive outcome. Right, let's have a look at what's going on here. Okay, so this is interesting. In a way, it's showing another aspect of the justice energy of, you know, of Libra. If we think about Libra, sometimes before a decision is made, there's a lot of kind of weighing up, you know, kind of the scales bob from one side to another. And I think with the Knight of Wands here, it could be that this female energy is having a slight wobble. She's maybe feeling a little bit kind of ambivalent, or maybe she's kind of wondering whether this is going to actually come off, possibly because it's been such a long time coming, that, you know, it almost seems too good to be true. So there may be this kind of slight element of doubt where she's wondering, is this really going to happen? You know, is the masculine energy finally decided about what he wants? Is this going to end up, you know, in the Four of Wands energy, or, you know, are things going to kind of like, you know, blow up at the last minute? So there's a slight element of doubt here. Let's have a look at what's happening for the masculine. Okay, interesting. So this is the only place that we've got any kind of indication so far of anything vaguely negative. So the Three of Swords here to me points to possibly this individual, the masculine individual, coming out of a period of heartbreak. Now this could also point to a period of separation. You know, I kind of feel as though these are really the fears of both individuals. So this is the kind of the mental body, if you like. These are what, you know, this for me is the position of hopes and fears. And I feel as though both parties, you know, are on the threshold of something incredible with this Nine of Cups energy. But it could be that both parties are thinking, oh goodness, you know, is this too good to be true? Will this person break my heart? Will they back out at the last minute? Are they really as committed as they say they are? So a little bit of jitters, you know, almost that kind of those pre-wedding jitters, if you like, that a lot of people get. And that's perfectly natural, especially if the path to true love hasn't exactly been smooth. But, you know, we will qualify with the Magpie Oracle in due course. We will kind of clarify. So let's crack out those trinkets now and find out more. I think I'm going to just pull 3, 4, you know, all the top cards so that we've got a little story going, and then we can kind of move on. Okay, this is interesting. So I think what this is telling us, this is giving us a little backstory here to possibly what happened just prior to this timeline here. So we've got the garden, the mountain, and the birds, And so what I feel, kind of happened, the reason why the Queen of Swords was so defensive is possibly because she felt that the masculine energy was disrespecting her in public. The garden for me is usually about, public meeting places, so it can be about, social media, online, our kind of online behavior, or just, what we say to friends, all of that kind of thing. So there could have been an element of possibly of disrespect, or maybe just a refusal to kind of commit or say how they felt, that kind of thing. There may also have been a public argument, given that we've got this Two of Wands energy, and it left the feminine energy, the lunar energy, a little bit defensive, and possibly had to put in a few boundaries. So that's the background to that. Then we've got the mountain, which kind of comes with the Nine of Cups. And what I feel is that one of the obstacles to happiness may have been either some kind of delay. There may have been a timing issue here at work, or it could have been that one or both parties didn't feel that they deserved happiness, or it could have been that there was a certain degree of smugness in one or both parties, some pride issues that perhaps kept the couple from maybe talking to each other. Maybe there's been a period of separation. And then finally the birds. Now this can sometimes, although generally for me is about communication between two parties, so again echoing this Two of Wands energy, this heated exchange, this passionate exchange, it can sometimes be about being talked about. So there could have been a little bit of gossip, people possibly interfering. It may have been third parties interfering. Sometimes how friends can be well-meaning, but can sometimes upset the apple cart by getting involved, perhaps being a little, well-meaning, but perhaps a little bit too protective, or possibly jumping to conclusions. I think when it comes to any kind of relationship, really the only two people who know what's going on are the two people in the relationship. So it could be that, but equally it could be that there was some kind of public argument, and it sort of was a bit dramatic and got people talking, and this may have made the feminine energy a little bit defensive. But things she seems to have thawed, so it could have been a passionate conversation that made her thaw a little bit, and definitely things seem to be kind of on track after that. Right, let's continue. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. With the Four of Wands, we've got the bouquet, and this is lovely actually, because it really echoes these flowers coming out of the wands, this kind of fruitful energy, this potential here for something that may have been a bud to actually blossom and become something more. I do feel as though maybe what it took was a gesture from the masculine to sort of thaw this, to thaw out the Queen of Swords, to make her kind of not relent, but just soften a little bit. Some gesture, maybe an apology, possibly a gift, something of that ilk. But it definitely restored her hope here with the star. So it brought her out of the Eight of Swords energy, which is generally about anxiety, feeling a little bit worried or trapped, not really knowing which way to turn. And I think it made her realize that there was actually potential here, that she wasn't sort of wasting her time. And then I think what's made her ambivalent with the tree here is possibly that things have been so slow to get off the ground that she may have doubts that it will ever go anywhere. The tree is a very slow grower, but that's because it's got legs, shall we say. It's a permanent thing. It's not some little kind of spindly weed that's going to kind of die after one season. This is something that's kind of growing for the long term. So for me, that's a good sign. Again, it's sort of echoing this Four of Wands energy, but because it's slow, sometimes if people are impatient, particularly with Wands energy, it can be a little bit impatient. There may be some doubts, like, is this ever going to get anywhere? I'm kind of losing patience, and I think this is maybe what the Knight of Wands represents, is kind of a little bit of impatience, you know, hurry up, let's kind of make this happen. And also with that, when it's not happening as fast as she would like, the Queen of Wands, possibly feeling like, oh no, maybe it's the wrong thing. So kind of adding an element of doubt in here. All right, let's, you know, is this too good to be true? Okay, this is interesting. Okay, so this is adding another dimension to things. So it does look to me with the book 2, the Four of Wands here, that possibly the masculine energy, the solar person, hasn't really expressed yet the fact that they feel that they are on the same page with the lunar person, that they want the same thing. And that they have yet to reveal this, or that they've yet to prove it, because it's all very well to say something, but then we have to kind of back it up with our actions, you know. But definitely with the hearts here to the Two of Wands energy, I do feel that this person is sincere and that they do want to be together with the lunar person. But with the Fox to the Three of Swords, I kind of feel as though they are being a little bit crafty. They haven't really kind of put their heart on their sleeve, and it could be because in the past they were hurt when they did. So when they kind of opened up, they may have been stabbed in the heart, and that may be why they are holding back a little bit. For me, the Fox is kind of cunning energy. It's a little bit wily, but sometimes it's strategic. So this is somebody that kind of plays the game of love defensively in a way, you know, in the sense that they, you know, they kind of believe, oh, you know, you don't sort of don't call straight away after a date, wait 3 days, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And it's all just sort of defense mechanisms to ensure that they don't get hurt. But it could inadvertently have planted a seed of doubt here for the lunar person. That's the only problem. Okay, let's see where this is going. Wow. Oh, goodness. All right, well, that's a bit of a disappointment. So we start with the Six of Wands, which is also the Tower. And very often for me, this is about positive breakthroughs, especially given that it is paired with the Six of Wands, which is the card of victory. So initially there seems to have been some kind of breakthrough where, you know, there was the sense that both parties were, you know, on the same page, but then something else has happened. Now this can be a shock, it can be, you know, an unexpected development, and of course we've just had that solar eclipse, which is just that kind of energy. It's a little bit unpredictable, a little bit volatile, and, you know, sometimes some rather unexpected things can turn up, that sort of plot twist or kind of that unexpected and not always welcome surprise that makes us sort of question things. So, but you know, we will kind of clarify in a minute. And then we've got the Three of Pentacles in reverse. Now this is not really what you want to see in terms of a long-term relationship. This is where two people are not necessarily working together to lay the solid foundations needed to create you know, this Four of Cups energy, I mean this Four of Wands energy, you know, the sort of stable future, and this could be for a number of reasons, so, you know, we will clarify. But it does seem as though one or both parties may not be cooperating, or at least is not showing signs of cooperating for whatever reason. They may not yet have come to the table, laid all their cards on the table. Yes. Yeah, do bear in mind that this is, you know, very short-term energy, so we are only talking 2 to 4 weeks here, so this could be a temporary thing. But yes, the ultimate result is the Moon. Now this card also doubles as the Eight of Cups. So I'm reading this in one of two ways. The first thing that I'm getting is that it's picking up this book energy here, which is very often about secrets or about not revealing your feelings. So it could be that as a result of this person not being entirely honest, as I say, I do feel that there's a slightly guarded energy here with the Fox and the Three of Swords. They may not have entirely come clean about how they feel or their intentions, and this could lead, unfortunately, to a walking away, that the Queen of Wands may kind of stamp her foot and say, well, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. Come back when you are 100% on board. Because the Eight of Cups very often is about a walking away from a situation that's been disappointing. On the other hand, it can be about walking away from the 8 towards the 10. So, as I say, we will clarify in a minute. But the moon energy here for me very often is about secrets, or just not people not revealing how they feel. So, kind of strange, given that we've got this potential, this flash of lightning, which is often a moment of illumination, and then it's closed down again. So that we've got the Wands energy, and then it's closed down by the moon here. So maybe something is going to happen at the next, at the full moon, because we've just had this, the new moon solar eclipse. Maybe something at the full moon will reveal, what is happening here. Why we've got this Three of Coins in reverse. Let's just pull some trinkets to clarify. Oh goodness, and look at this, I've just noticed. This very sneaky clover trinket has somehow ended up in the tray of crystals. So that may be a sign. It's interesting because I associate it quite strongly here with the Nine of Cups. But I'm just going to put it here because it could point to timing. It could point to timing. Okay, so mice. Okay. The stork. And then the girl. So quite interesting, actually. So with the mice to the Six of Wands, I mean, it's a kind of strange combination. The Six of Wands for me is, as I say, often about victory, about triumphing, in a situation, about coming out on top after difficulties. And it's interesting too that we've got the six. You can see the wands here, and you can see that they are echoing this four. With the wands here that have kind of burst into flower. But now we've got 3 on either side, so it could point to the surprise being some kind of third-party interference, possibly, because the mice very often for me is about either playing it small, so some kind of it's kind of poverty thinking. It's taking away rather than adding to a situation, and again it could be this lack of this, the solo individual being completely forthright. So secrets, not revealing how you feel, can sometimes create an atmosphere of distrust or worry, particularly if there have been problems in the past. It can be quite triggering, potentially. So this is very often for me about worry or feeling lack. It's a sort of a lack mentality, what's eating away at us. And we have a hint of this with the Eight of Swords in the lunar individual, and in addition we've got this energy here of the Knight of Wands, which is very hot and cold. So there could be a bit of ambivalence going on here with the lunar individual. Could be, I mean, we can't rule out the fact that it could be third party. Very often the Knight of Wands is quite what's the word? It can be that sort of energy of somebody who's a bit of a player, and that could be that could apply to the lunar energy as much as the solar energy, but equally for me it's about ambivalence. But definitely something is sort of a little bit off here. So this is looking like it could be a not so great surprise. But then we've got the stork here. Now, of course, the stork can point to pregnancy, so it could be that, you know, one of the parties has got somebody else pregnant accidentally. That we can't rule out. This can also be possibly about interference by a mother, some kind of maternal figure. You know, the stork for me, you know, represents kind of motherhood. So we've had this public element, this public dimension in the past. So it could be that there is interference, and that this is, you know, perhaps what's holding up, you know, the ability to kind of start fresh, to really build foundations here. And of course this is 3, so again it could point to, you know, interference from a third party. And then things seem to work out though, because we've got, you know, the girl, which for me is about Venus kind of energy, and then we've got this, you know, this wonderful clover, which is about a change of luck. You know, as I say, for me quite similar in a way to the Nine of Cups, but also the Wheel of Fortune. So it's kind of interesting that we've got this 8 of Cups energy here, which is, you know, which is a bit of disappointment. Now, I mean, astrologically, towards the end of December, we do have the final pass of the Venus-Neptune square. It happens on the 30th, I think, of December. And this takes us back to the energy of June, when Venus was retrograde in Gemini. And we had quite a lot of stuff come up around, you know, addictions in relationships, disappointments, denials, people being a little bit fickle, lack of commitment, all of that kind of thing, all those issues that were thrown up. So this could be the final pass of Neptune and Venus. Maybe some final things need to be worked through before, you know, this couple can finally come together. Because, you know, I mean, the 4 of Wands here, as I say, as wonderful as it is still in the subconscious of both parties. So it could be that it hasn't actually come up yet to consciousness. They may not necessarily be aware that of how they truly feel about each other. And that may be why we've got the Moon card here, the card of secrets. But there does seem to be the potential for this to sort of dawn with the, you know, with Venus here. You know, it reminds me of the card Puella in the Geomantic deck, which is all about reaching equilibrium in relationships, restoring balance, peace, harmony, things working out in the end. So I don't think that all hope is lost, but I do think that it would be better for this couple to be more honest with each other about how they feel, because it could help to circumvent, you know, this little wobble, shall we say, this kind of what's the word? This sort of minor obstacle in the road that I think needs to be overcome before this couple can come together. But that is where it, you know, it kind of is at the moment. Okay, let's pull some. Whoopsie. Let's pull some name tags just to get a couple of initials. So I'm not looking. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm just going to pick some at random. Okay, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, and 6. Okay, let's see what we've got. An L, a Y, an F, an A, gosh, 2 Y's, and a J. That's interesting. Okay, so if those resonate, then you know, this may be you know, your reading. All right, I think let's end with a piece of advice from the Universe Has Your Back deck by Gabby Bernstein. Oops. What have we got? Yes, absolutely perfect. So we've got a lovely crescent moon here, and it says, when I lean toward love, I am led. And this is what I feel. I think if both parties are willing to be more honest with each other and not kind of let pride get in the way, then I do think that they can avoid whatever this little obstacle is that could sort of come up, this spanner in the works, and really move positively towards positive change here. But I think it really depends on if they are able to to put aside what's happened in the past, because I do feel that part of the reason why both parties are so defensive is because they've been hurt, and that this situation is quite triggering. So yes, but let's just pull some trinkets just to get some final messages. Okay, so Mars. Yes, lovely. Yeah, this is what I feel quite strongly. So I think if both parties do not kind of succumb to knee-jerk reactions, Mars is very impetuous and hot-headed, so tends to kind of think, act before they think. And I think this is true of both parties. We've got a lot of fire energy here, so I think this is potentially two people getting triggered and then kind of reacting rather than stopping for a minute to think. Because then we've got the ship, which for me is all about kind of flow, so kind of going with the flow, and then finally the lily, which is about integrity and wisdom. So I kind of feel as though the message here is to try and maybe not kind of come from our kind of wounded child position, which is sort of can often make us behave in quite immature ways, or just as I say, we become quite reactive and then afterwards think, oh no, why on earth did I do that? And instead stay with their kind of wiser self, so act from a more mature, perhaps restrained point of view. The lily points to purity here, purity of intention. And if they can do that, then things will go a lot more smoothly. That's what I'm feeling. So again, echoing this message of when I lean toward love, I am led. So letting love be the motivation behind our intentions and our decisions, rather than than fear, which very often leads to defensive or aggressive or avoidant behavior. So if you think about Mars, that's all. If you think of warfare, people either retreat, that can be a strategic move, or they can sort of advance, kind of attack before you're attacked, or it can lead to this defensive behavior. So I think the key thing here is to stay in the Venusian energy, so be led by love and not be led by fear and conflict. And then this is a much more kind of mature approach to relationships, and I think it will be a lot more. It will lead to a much more positive outcome. So there is definitely potential here. If we look at the 9 of Cups and if we look at these 4 of Wands, I mean, this is incredible energy here. So there's real potential here if both parties can just get past their ego defenses and move into their heart space. So interesting reading, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Just want to send you wishes for the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. Happy New Year, guys. I hope that 2021 brings you everything that your heart desires, including love and happiness. And yes, sending you lots of love and all the very best. Hi everyone, and welcome to your reading for Capricorn season. So I hope you're all well and that you had a wonderful eclipse. But anyway, let's get into reading. As usual, I've got my solar and lunar decks here. So we're going to have a look at, take the temperature to find out, what's happening between the masculine and the feminine energies. Okay, so let's get into your reading and find out what's been happening in the recent past. Interesting. Wow. So we've got a masculine and a feminine energy here. We've got the King of Cups, and you know, he tends to be associated with water signs like Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer, and then we've got the Queen of Swords, who is an air sign. So we are talking here about Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. So it seems as though these two people are in slightly different energy, shall we say. On the one hand, the King of Cups is all about, you know, he's kind of in his feels. He may not necessarily always express how he feels, but he certainly feels a lot of love, you know, kind of deep in his heart. And then the more feminine energy is the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is somebody who doesn't really suffer fools gladly, who is quite intelligent and intellectual. She uses the sword of air to kind of cut through to the heart of the matter. She doesn't really take BS. She can be sometimes a little bit harsh or defensive, but she's definitely somebody who wants the truth. You know, she's kind of, don't mess me around, you know, tell me how, you know, kind of how things are, don't waste my time, sort of thing. So, you know, as I say, quite different energies. And then in the most sort of recent past, we've got the High Priestess, which is also the Two of Pentacles. So this energy is very often for me about secrets, or just people who are not really saying a lot. There's a lot going on below the surface. Both parties may sense it, but they're not necessarily they're not speaking the truth, or they're not actually saying how they feel. So there could be some kind of standoff. Possibly these two people are in separation. It could also be that there's an element of intrigue here to the situation. It could be the start, you know, of a kind of a connection of some kind. Maybe both parties haven't really yet made a move, as it were. There's definitely a kind of a weighing up going on here, juggling with the Two of Pentacles. So we'll find out more as we go along. Interesting. So in the kind of present position, the conscious position of the feminine energy, we've got the Queen of Pentacles. So for me, she's a very warm person, very often a homebody, but just very grounded. She is often very kind and generous. She knows what she is worth, and this is somebody who very often likes playing the role of kind of wife or mother. She's quite, as I say, quite a grounded, homely kind of energy. Not necessarily, that doesn't mean that she's unattractive. It just means that she, you know, she is interested first and foremost in things like family, you know, sitting around the table, having a nice meal together. Often a nature lover as well. Yeah, interesting. And usually somebody who wants commitment. So let's have a look at the masculine energy. Oh wow. So here we've got the Ace of Cups. So this does look to me as though it's a new relationship of some kind. The Ace of Cups is usually the start of feelings. So, you know, the King of Cups may be feeling this energy kind of welling up in his heart for somebody, but it may just be this kind of start of feelings. These may not have been expressed yet. The Ace of Cups for me is also very much about self-love and that kind of universal love energy, you know, that we feel from our mother first, and that we feel from, you know, the great mother, you know, the earth, and the divine feminine. So it's really interesting, actually. There's this beautiful kind of warm feeling about the connection at the moment, I feel. A really sort of genuine heart connection here. Alright, let's see what's going on below the surface. Okay, so the Queen of Pentacles here seems to either not be revealing her feelings, because we've got the Eight of Cups, but also the Moon here. So it's echoing the High Priestess energy, and she is sort of she is a Moon Priestess. You can see the crescent on her third eye. So it could be that this Queen of Pentacles, the more feminine energy, hasn't yet expressed how she feels, that there may be this sort of initial frisson or kind of connection, this emotional connection. It could be a friendship, you know, but there does seem to be a sense of it's not having fully developed yet. That's the one reading that I'm getting. The other one, of course, with the Eight of Cups is that she may have walked away from a previous relationship, so she may still, you know, be kind of licking her wounds, or, you know, kind of getting over a previous relationship. It could also be that for whatever reason, you know, this couple kind of met and they made a connection and then they went their separate ways, and that could be why we've got the Queen of Swords here. There's a slight element of defensiveness here, so it could be that something, you know, that initially things didn't really kind of get off the ground. Okay, but there does seem to be a willingness to cooperate here with the solar energy. We've got the Three of Pentacles in the upright position, so this suggests somebody who is interested in laying solid foundations for, you know, a relationship to perhaps go somewhere. So I do really feel as though this is a new relationship coming in. The first flushes of you know, a potential connection here that does, you know, certainly as far as the solar person is concerned, potentially, you know, have the potential to go further. So let's see where the feminine energy wants things to go in the near future. Okay, yeah, so with the Three of Wands, she definitely sees a bright future for the connection. We've got the sun in the background, rising, and we've got the sense with the tools here of wanting to make things work, you know, being willing to kind of put in the effort to see where things go. So that looks very promising, actually. Let's have a look at the masculine. Wow, okay, so very interesting, another king. So here we've got the King of Wands, who is also the magician, because the playing card system kind of often doubles up. It doesn't have as many cards as the traditional tarot. So this points to somebody who really wants to make things work. You know, I feel that this is a kind of, you know, if we're talking human design here, we're talking somebody who's a manifester, somebody who is in a position to actually make things happen. When they decide on something, that's it, you know. So this person has really stirred something up in them emotionally, I feel. And now they want to take action to see, you know, to kind of make things happen, to sort of see where things can go. You know, the King of Wands for me is an energy of taking action or initiative. So this is not somebody who's afraid to, if they feel a spark with somebody, to sort of then make the initiative to make an approach and sort of say, how about it, kind of thing. This is somebody who is quite confident and will go after what they want. So that's interesting, actually. I'm kind of wondering if this King of Cups energy is somebody that the Queen of Pentacles walked away from, you know, maybe in the past. But, you know, we'll clarify with the Magpie Oracle in due course. Well, let's do that now, actually. But yes, before we do that, let's pull some tiles, just to get a couple of initials here. In fact, I'm just going to pull some of the, you know, the ones that are upside down, just to save a bit of time. Okay, let's see what we've got. So we've got an N, an M, and an L. And then here we have a W, B, and a Y. So if those initials mean anything to you, then this could well be your reading. Okay, let's clarify a little bit more about what's happened in the recent past. And in fact, I'm just going to pull the table down a little bit so that the cards don't look so skewed. Okay, interesting. So for the King of Cups, we've got the dog. Now this very often for me points to somebody who is very devoted, so I think it, you know, it really echoes this the fact that the King of Cups obviously feels a lot of love. It can be a friend, so it could be that these two people in the past were friends, that they never were romantic, or it could be that it can often also be a soulmate. So interesting, but a significant connection nonetheless. Right, so the Queen of Swords gets the Tower, and this is not like the Tower in the Tarot. This is more like the Tarot in the Lenormand. So for me, this points to somebody who is listening to their sort of their inner guidance, who is very much kind of marching to the beat of their own drum, and who is listening quite closely to their to sort of advice or guidance from their sort of inner guides. They may also sought advice from a third party, you know, maybe somebody knowledgeable, but this is definitely talking about, and it can also be quite an aloof energy, and that's what I'm feeling quite strongly. You know, the Queen of Swords, as I say, can sometimes be a little bit defensive, you know, don't come any near, you know, any closer sort of thing. You know, state your intentions, quite sort of matter-of-fact energy. And you know, if the lunar person walked away from someone in the recent past, or you know, was walked away from, it could explain the defensiveness. Okay, so this is a bit of a slow grower. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that these two individuals were possibly friends before. You know, the tree grows very, very slowly. It's got to put down a lot of roots before it can support itself, you know, sort of spreading those branches out far and wide. So I kind of feel as though these two people, either the relationship was slow to get off the ground, or that they were actually friends first, and maybe this person always had a torch for the Queen of Swords and didn't really say anything. But this could be why we've got the High Priestess energy here, which, as I say, is often mute. There's often a sense of undercurrents, but not really saying very much. So that's interesting. Let's find out more about the feminine energy. Okay. Yeah, interesting. So she's had some problems in the kind of recent past. She's coming out of a period of difficulty or suffering. So I do feel as though maybe she's coming out of a previous relationship and is still kind of nursing some wounds there that are kind of leave over from that relationship. Alright, but she definitely sees a sunny future here with this particular individual, or she's looking to the future now. She's kind of passed through the worst of her heartbreak, and she's now got to the point where she's thinking about, you know, perhaps, you know, new relationships, looking to the future with slightly more. She's open to, you know, to kind of offers, is what I'm feeling. Yeah, definitely. So even though she may have been through a period of difficulty, she walked away, but you know, I think with the star here, was still kind of carrying the hope that she was yet to meet, you know, the one. It can also point, of course, to healing for me. The star very much about healing. All right, let's look at the masculine energy. Okay. So yeah, interesting trinket to come out. This is the mice. So I do feel as though this is the start of something new, because the mice, you know, is quite small. So I kind of feel as though with the Ace of Cups here, it's saying that it's still very, very early days here, and this person may still kind of have a few concerns, but you know, nonetheless, I just think it's about something small. Oopsie. Okay, but yes, I definitely feel that they do want to take the initiative and sort of move towards the other party. Okay, interesting. So this actually represents the scythe in the Lenormand system. So the axe, for me, pointing to swift movement here. You know, it's not always about kind of giving something the chop. It's sometimes about making a swift decision and then moving forward with gusto, you know, similar to the swords sort of energy. So it could either be that they too have, you know, kind of walked away from something in the past, maybe that wasn't working, but it could also be that they've made a snap decision, and that they want to sort of move forward here, you know, towards this other person, perhaps after having, you know, built a foundation of a friendship here. This is, you know, certainly a possibility with the dog and the King of Cups here. So this could be somebody who's always sort of harbored feelings for the Queen of Pentacles, but didn't really want to make their move until they felt it was the right time. Perhaps they watched this person, you know, having their heart broken, walking away from another relationship, and waited for them to heal from this breakup so that they weren't to kind of rebound. And now they sense maybe that the time is right, and this is their moment. So they're moving quite swiftly with Mars and the Scythe here, moving quite swiftly and decisively towards this other party to initiate, you know, take things to another level, open things up into possibly a romantic level. So that's quite exciting. Let's see where this is going. Wow. Oh, this is beautiful. Love it. Okay, so we've got Judgment here, and this is for me very much about a wake-up call. This is a kind of now or never moment, realizing the time is right, we have to strike while the iron is hot, or just suddenly seeing something in a different way, perhaps for the first time. So as I said, I do feel as though the masculine energy may have well been aware of the potential of the relationship all along. It could have been the feminine energy, perhaps, you know, still very much with the head, you know, focused on a previous relationship and kind of nursing maybe some heartbreak, that they may not have seen the potential here with the King of Cups. But now all of that is about to change. The penny's about to drop, I feel, as this person comes forward. Because then we have the Ace of Pentacles here, which is definitely about a solid offer. You know, and I do feel that this is coming from the King of Wands, the Magician here. So a solid offer of a potential relationship. And then look where things are going. This is the Six of Cups, which very often points to a soulmate relationship. We've got this echoed here in the dog. It can also be somebody that we've known since childhood, because, you know, the Six of Cups is often about the past, it's about nostalgia, and it's about people that we may have grown up with. So I do feel strongly that this is potentially two people who have known each other since they were young, but who maybe were just friends, or who broke up a long time ago, and you know, maybe there's a chance here for a second chance, because sometimes Judgment can be about, you know, that if you think about Judgment in the Rider-Waite deck, it sort of shows the scenes from you know, the final days, you know, the sort of where people rise from the dead and are kind of reborn. So it could be that there's a resurgence here of a previous connection, but definitely with the Six of Cups is also the Lovers. So I do feel as though this is really kind of pointing to a very significant connection that has you know, this kind of divinely ordained, especially if you think about the Rider-Waite deck. The Lovers has got the, you know, an angel that is kind of presiding over the connection. So I do feel as though this is to an extent destiny, and that this is really, you know, kind of has the potential to go places. So let's see what the trinkets have to say. Yes, so a positive shift with Judgment here. We've got the Stork, which, you know, for me is always about a positive change, a change for the better. So, you know, even though the Queen of Pentacles may have had some heartbreak or disappointments in the past when it comes to love, I do feel as though things are about to change, particularly for her. Right, and then we've got, interesting, we've got the Crossroads here. This very often points to choices. Now, it's worth saying that this card here is it's a kind of dual energy. It's the Eight of Pentacles, which is you know, a new star, but it's also the World. So it's closing out a previous cycle, and you know, that was very much the energy that we moved into with the solar eclipse in Sagittarius. You know, it was the Sun and the Moon were conjunct the South Node, and for me that was very much about closing out a cycle that kind of dates back to around about 2002. So closing out an old cycle and choosing to move forward here. And this may be why we've got a kind of crossroads. So there's this kind of dual energy of one door closing, another opening. Yes, but things moving forward rapidly with the rider. So this is my equivalent of the chariot, and this points to forward momentum, which I do feel very strongly here with the King of Wands. This is somebody who doesn't mess around, who means business, and who really has the courage to sort of go after what they want. So you know, you add in Mars here, and you add in the Scythe, and we're talking about quite fast moving energy. So this is echoed for me in the chariot, the rider here, which is always about forward momentum. It can be about communication too, somebody coming forward with an offer is what I feel. So it could be, as I say, someone that we have a past tie to, but definitely with the Six of Cups here and the Lovers, we are talking about huge potential here for a very, very positive you know, relationship, actually a positive outcome. So echoing this, you know, wonderful dog energy here of a soulmate. We've got this stunning Ace of Cups, so somebody who is deeply sincere in how they feel, somebody who knows what they want, who's very confident, who wants to build you know, solid foundations for you know, a long-term future. So I think that this Queen of Pentacles energy, you know, she's also open to new offers. I do feel she may not have been in the past, and that may be why we've got the Queen of Swords here. Perhaps she was still nursing some wounds and wasn't really ready for a new relationship at that point, but now things are changing. We're moving into the Judgment, then the World. So if you think in the tarot, this is 20, card 20 and then 21, so we're moving towards a brand new cycle, a new cycle starting here, and a real opportunity here for love, which is incredible. What a lovely reading. So let's end the reading with a piece of advice from the Universal Back Oracle. Okay. Wow. Okay. It's funny. I did another reading earlier, and exactly the same card came out. That's quite uncanny. When I lean toward love, I am led. So it does seem as though, you know, the choice here is clear, that you know, move towards love, move away from heartbreak, and you cannot go wrong. So, I mean, a very, very clear message, I feel. But I will pull some trinkets just to give us a final message. Wow. Yes. I mean, you can't argue with this. So we've got the two birds, so the lovebirds, who may be about to get in communication with each other, but they are definitely on the same page as far as you know, heart connection is concerned. This is definitely a very deep heart connection, possibly a soulmate. And then we've got the keys, so unlocking one person's heart, and also the keys to success. So I do feel as though, you know, in a way it's echoing the energy we've got here with the Magician, where we've got all the four elements that he has at his disposal. So he's got everything that he needs at his disposal to, you know, for a successful outcome, to make things happen. So I really feel as though this is echoing the idea that all you need, the one ingredient you need in this thing to make it work, to make it successful, is love. And you know, if this is communicated, two people are coming together, echoing the Lovers card here. So what a stunning reading. I'm yeah, thrilled for whoever this reading is for. Yes, this is my last reading for 2020, so sending you tons of love. Happy 2021, and all the very best. Hello and welcome to everyone who picked reading number 3. As usual, we are going to look at the masculine and feminine energies using my solar and lunar deck from the Illuminated playing cards. So let's get started with the feminine energy. Guys, let's get into reading and find out what's been happening in the recent past with this connection. Okay, interesting. So my initial thoughts are that that an offer was made, some kind of offer of love, or some kind of offer of a relationship was made, and that things have been progressing slowly, perhaps initially after a period of weighing things up, a little bit of indecision, perhaps between, sort of one or both parties possibly weighing up whether this is what they want. But then, the Ace of Pentacles here is, it doubles up as the World. So I kind of feel as though one cycle finished and a new cycle started, and possibly there had to be a period of waiting in order for this, whatever this cycle was that was ending, to sort of phase out. Now it could have been that the 20, or the sort of, around about 20-year cycle that closed out at the solar eclipse that we've just had in Sagittarius, where the luminaries were essentially conjunct the south node, which for me is always about karmic endings, the end of a karmic cycle. So it could be that there was a delay until the timing was correct, and so that things could phase out and a new cycle could start. Because with the Knight of Pentacles here, this is very often an indication of progression, but it's usually slow progression. However, it is constructive progress. The Pentacles energy is always quite grounded and is working towards a particular goal. It just might not be that swift in terms of overall kind of energy. So let's have a look at the lunar person to see where they are kind of at. Wow. Okay, so they seem to have had some kind of wake-up call recently. This is Judgment for me. I tend not to read it as the Ten of Swords, not my favorite card, I must be honest. That usually speaks of the end of a cycle of betrayal, or just of kind of sorrow and loss and heartbreak. Not very nice energy. So I tend to read this as being Judgment. And Judgment is, of course, you can read it in one of two ways. It can either be a sense of somebody getting their karma, so possibly, whatever the situation was, in the past, if it is some kind of Ten of Swords situation, may have been sort of karmic. I hate to use the word payback because that sounds so kind of judgmental. It just could have been that two people had agreed, you know, perhaps due to actions that were taken in a previous life, that maybe in this life, you know, this person was going to get a lesson in betrayal, and you know, for whatever soul reason. And but the other way that I read this is the more kind of that this tends to be my predominant way of reading it, is that it's a second chance of some kind. It's either a wake-up call or a second chance. This is like judgment in, you know, the final judgment in biblical terms, with the angel Gabriel blowing his trumpet, and suddenly this leads to a wake-up call here, you know. So somehow some kind of awakening happening for the lunar person, the more feminine energy. And of course this is not gender specific, it is just down to the slightly more easygoing, passive, receptive kind of energy versus the more active, initiating energy of the solar cards here. So let's see what is going on here for the solar person. Okay, so the solar person definitely wants this connection to progress. It must have been them that made the offer here with the Ace of Pentacles, but they see this relationship going places. This is the Four of Wands, and as we can see from the image on the card, there's a gateway through which a path leads to sunrise, to people celebrating in the distance. It's part of a community. So there's this real sense of marriage, of celebration, and of a stable connection that is also very passionate. So really, really lovely card. I absolutely love it when it comes up in a love reading. So this person definitely, you know, wants things to progress. Let's see what's going on subconsciously. Okay, that's good. So here for the feminine energy, we've got the Ace of Wands, as well as Strength. So this is a kind of twofold energy as well. So here we've got the Ace of Wands, which is, I mean, it stands in quite stark contrast actually to all this Pentacles energy. So the Ace of Wands is also a new start, but it's a lot more passionate, and there's a lot more, how can I put it, a little bit more of a bang going on here. This is very often the start of the kind of spark, that initial spark of passion that we might feel for somebody, the spark of attraction. So it could well be that the lunar person may not have initially seen the potential with the solar person, and then they had a kind of a wake-up call, and possibly due to feeling sparks they didn't expect to, and this is sort of perhaps led to them seeing the solar person in a whole new way. You know, very often with the Knight of Pentacles energy, this tends to be slightly cautious, sometimes not very confident energy. So this person may need a lot of reassurance, and it could be that the lunar person didn't see the potential at first with this person, but certainly they did, the solar person. And then the other way that we can read this is Strength, which is very often somebody who needs to learn to master their emotions. You know, the lion very often being a symbol for the heart. And, you know, it's possible that with this wake-up call that, and the Ten of Swords energy, that this person has had to learn some very important lessons in self-control and kind of emotional mastery. But we'll find out more when we clarify with the Magpie Oracle. Wow. So look at this. So the solar person is very much kind of very keen. Here we've got the, this is for me the Sun, but it also doubles as the Nine of Wands. So this is the psychological, the sort of unconscious aspect of the more masculine energy. So first reading it as the Sun, I think it reiterates this beautiful Four of Wands energy that we've got here with the sun rising in the background, people celebrating, very, very happy energy. It's usually yes. So this person knowing immediately that there's a strong connection here. But it may have taken the lunar person a longer time. Now, the Nine of Wands is slightly more complicated. It can very often mean somebody who's kind of, you know, once bitten, twice shy. So this could be that they're kind of sensing that the lunar person might have been through the mill with other relationships, and so might be kind of off the back foot, or just not going to kind of rush out the gate, being keen on a relationship. They may have been coming out of, a very difficult cycle of something that really knocked them flat, and then having to sort of pull themselves together and find the courage to move on. But this person really, I think, very, very optimistic, sees a bright future with this individual. So they seem to know very clearly what they want. Now let's have a look at the top energy. This tends to be where both people would like things to go next. So it can be hopes, but it could also be fears sometimes. Nice. Okay, this is positive. So here with the Three of Wands at the top, we've got a sense that this person is also looking to the future, and kind of seeing a potentially bright future, with the solar individual. And if not with the solar individual, they're just feeling more optimistic about the future than they may have done in the past. This could be also why we've got Judgment here. It could be that after a period of loss, bad health, stress, heartbreak of some kind, some sort of devastating circumstances, that they're kind of they're putting themselves together psychologically, and they're now looking to the future and seeing it as being bright. So they've definitely kind of crossed a major milestone here psychologically, and are open, shall we say, to new fresh possibilities in the future. It can also, with all this passionate energy that we've got here on the left, this person definitely wants to work with the other individual to sort of build something for the future. You can see all the tools down here, and there's this teepee, which is meant to sort of represent, like the temple of Solomon. We've got the sort of that opening that you often see in the High Priestess card in other decks, and also of course the I think it's making a reference to the Ark of the Covenant, which was sort of carried around with the Israelites wherever they went, and then they would sort of set up this kind of tabernacle that would house it, and that would have been a tent, I'm sure, if they were on the move. But let's see what's going on. Wow, this is incredible. So yes, I mean, there's no doubt in the mind of the solar person what they want to happen next. This is the Ten of Cups, and as well as the Wheel of Fortune. So I mean, you don't get better than this when it comes to long-term commitment, happiness, the sense of wanting to have a family with somebody, to kind of incorporate the other individual into their lives, into their families, into their kind of wider community. The Ten of Cups being the card for me of marriage and of long-term commitment, and then the Wheel of Fortune really talking about a change of circumstances, a change of luck, an upswing in the energies. And of course that is really mirrored by the energy that we have astrologically at the moment too, with all the stunning aspects and things, the transits that are happening between the solar eclipse and that stunning ingress of the sun into Capricorn, which signals a return of the light. And at the same time we've got that very hopeful Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius. So beautiful energy. This person really kind of ready for long-term commitment. They see the future as being bright. They're feeling very optimistic about the future. They want a long-term commitment. They see a bright future. They want to build towards this ultimate happiness with the lunar individual, and are working slowly but surely towards that. They have made their offer. Possibly this person hasn't responded yet, and that's why we've got the Two of Pentacles here weighing the offer up. Right, so let's see. Let's first clarify a little bit with the Magpie Oracle before we move on. I want to know a little bit more about Judgment here. Yes, so definitely some obstacles that they've had to overcome in their personal life, and that may be why we've got this hesitation here. Okay, that's interesting. So we've got the children with the these with strength and the Ace of Wands. So this could be read one of two ways. You could either read it as being that the lunar individuals had to do a little bit of growing up. Perhaps in the past they've been quite an emotional person, and they've had to kind of really master their emotions. Here with the Strength card, these may have been, it could also be like an inner child type of scenario that where there needed to be kind of mastery of the emotional body. That's one reading. And the second reading is that possibly this person is very keen for a fresh start. So this can be the start of something, something small, then growing, with the Ace of Wands energy here. Okay, so yes, with the book to the Three of Wands, again, you can read this in one of two ways. They may not have revealed to the solar person yet that they also want to work on building a future together. So it could be that they're still being a little bit mysterious, because so a closed book, but also it can be about learning. So it could be that, as I say, this individual may not be as mature as the individual on the right. Possibly they may be younger as well, and this could mean that they've still got a lot to learn when it comes to relationships. Maybe they haven't had a long-term relationship, yet, a significant partnership. Or it could be that they just feel as though they've got a lot to learn from this individual on the right here, that there's a lot to learn from the relationship, that there's a lot, it's stimulating, there's a lot to the relationship. Let's find out more about, the past. Oh no, let's read this and then we'll go to that. Interesting. Two trinkets have come out. So yes, I mean, this person definitely knows how they feel. We've got the letter and we've got Mars here. So they are really keen to move things forward into possibly a marriage contract with the letter, which is some kind of written document or communication, but they definitely see a future. And it could be that they've also communicated this in writing. They may have sent the individual on the left a love letter, something that a tangible offer that this person can then kind of mull over and respond to when they are ready. Okay, so again, with the Nine of Wands here to the cross, I do feel as though this person empathically can pick up on the fact that the lunar person may have been through the mill a little bit, and possibly is giving them some space so that they don't feel too kind of crowded. That's what I feel. It could also be that this individual has experienced their own kind of heartbreak and loss in the past, but is now over it and is feeling very optimistic about the future. Yes, definitely. With the Lily here to the Ten of Cups, and the Wheel of Fortune, I do feel as though this individual is the older one, possibly the more mature individual, who may have been, in a long-term commitment before. They understand that, time heals all wounds. With the wheel turning, they may have just been sort of waiting for the right time to sort of approach this individual. This may be why they are going slowly. They don't want to scare the other person off. But also, I think this points to a purity. So they really see the person on the left, the lunar person, as being somebody very, very special, and somebody that they consider to be a cut above, somebody who's got integrity and who they really respect. So a really lovely combination of love and respect here, which you don't see often in readings, I must be honest. So let's have a look quickly at what the circumstances that have led up to now, and then we'll have a look at things moving forward. All right, interesting. So here we've got the Stork to the High Priestess, Two of Pentacles, and I mean, it's quite interesting energy. You don't think of the High Priestess as being particularly maternal. That's more the job of the Empress. So I feel that this is more about a subtle shift, a change that kind of happened in the recent past, that is sort of paving the way for improvements. And it could be, you know, this person recovering from whatever shock they've kind of had in the past. But things definitely turning, you know, with the Wheel of Fortune here, things shifting in a positive direction. Yes, and I do feel this strongly with the snake here, that there may have been betrayal in the past with the Ten of Swords, but equally I think the situation has been not a swift one. I think it's been it's been a gradual development, shall we say, and I think this echoes the Knight of Pentacles here, which is the slowest moving of the knights. For me, this also actually echoes the Ouroboros. The snake is like the Ouroboros that you get in the traditional world card. So I think it's pointing also to cycles here. The end of one cycle with the world, and then the beginning of a new one with the Ace of Pentacles. So Alpha and Omega. And then I think echoing the Wheel of Fortune very nicely. Yes, look at that. So really emphasizing this idea of slow but constructive growth with the Knight of Pentacles. So definitely a bit of a grower. This has been a slow developing situation, but sometimes that's better, because then it means that things don't sort of start in a rush of passion and then kind of implode very quickly afterwards. They sort of burn out. This is more one of those slow burners that I think can go the distance. So let's see where things are heading in the near future, and this is usually energy of about 2 to 4 weeks. Wow. This is so interesting. So quite sort of puzzling. Yeah, I mean, interesting. All right, so we start with the tower here. This is the tower, and it also doubles as the Six of Wands, which I think in a way echoes this judgment energy that we've got here, where there is a kind of a breakthrough moment, a kind of an aha moment. The light comes on, lightning strikes the tower, and of course the tower has usually got a crown on the top, signifying the crown chakra, and there's this sense of illumination, oh, right, suddenly seeing things in a different way. Or if the situation has been slow to develop, maybe now there's a breakthrough and things start to move forward quite swiftly, because the Six of Wands very often points to a triumphant victory, so a positive outcome. But then there's a hint here of a tiny bit of doubt with this is the Moon, but it's also the eight of Cups. So it could be, you could read it in sort of one of two ways. You could read it as being part of this illumination that needs to happen. Maybe it will happen at a significant lunar phase, the next upcoming full moon after the solar eclipse may be revealing. Maybe this is the solar eclipse, because I do associate it with tower energy, and then this could be the next moon phase afterwards, which illuminates something that was perhaps hidden before. The moon often being about what's unsaid, what is hidden, and this could lead to some kind of illumination. But equally, the Eight of Cups can sometimes be about disappointment, or a kind of a walking away, deciding that something isn't for me. But we don't see that indicated in this reading, really. So it could be more to do with the lunar person walking away from past disappointments. This Ten of Swords energy here. We will clarify, though, with the Magpie Oracle. And then the next, sort of the outcome in the immediate future, is the Queen of Wands energy. So she's very creative, she's confident, it looks good. This is kind of glow up energy for me. It's Leo energy. So if you want an idea of the zodiac rulerships, we've got the Sun, obviously, Leo here, so this is kind of double Leo energy, and then we've got sometimes people associate this with Pluto or with Scorpio because of that sort of death and rebirth kind of energy. With the High Priestess, we're talking very often about lunar energy, so Cancer or any of the water signs for me. And then I tend to associate the Knight of Pentacles with Virgo energy, you know, the sort of the earth signs, so Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, but very often it's Virgo for me. So here we've got the Queen of Wands, who is very Leo, and as I say, I do see this as being a kind of a glow up, so it could be, as I say, recovery for this person after a devastating blow of some kind, feeling more confident, and possibly then being in a position where they are ready to make a decision about, you know, whatever this offer is. But equally it can be about somebody who is just very, very attractive, and that perhaps the solar person is very drawn to, you know, quite a sexy energy here. But anyway, let's clarify quickly and just find out a little bit more. Okay, so a choice of some kind with the crossroads here. Okay, so a female or Venus, and we do have a Venus square, actually, the last square between Venus and Neptune on the 30th of December. So this could be some kind of relationship test. Let's just find out more. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that this is sort of a third party swooping in, you know, seeing that this person is a real catch, and maybe sort of swooping in because they like attention, because we've got the fox here, and this is quite crafty energy. It's a little bit manipulative. So I almost feel as though this is like a spanner in the works here with the Tower. This is somebody throwing a spanner in the works and potentially getting in the way of something that, I mean, seems to be, you know, have enormous potential here with the person on the right. So I feel as though it's a third party that is just sort of kind of coming in and I don't want to say spoiling things, but that's kind of the energy that I'm feeling, you know, is that there's this other female who comes in and who may not necessarily have good intentions with the fox here, and this leads to choices possibly for one or both parties. Maybe this person's head gets turned, possibly it may be a friend of this individual who may be privy to the fact that this individual is hesitating on some level. And you know, yeah, we all have those kind of frenemies, don't we? Who aren't necessarily interested in the person that we're interested in, but they just like to win. So they kind of swoop in and go, oh well, if you're not sure, I'll kind of go in and have him myself, sort of thing. That's the energy that I'm feeling. Let me just pull one more trinket, just to. Okay, well, I think even if this does happen, I think it as swift as it kind of comes in is as swift as it will leave. So, you know, if this person doesn't really get the attention that they want, if they're given short shrift, I think they may move on quite quickly. I do feel like this is quite fickle energy here. This is just someone who's a bit of an attention seeker, sometimes, you know, a bit of a covert narcissist. So, just something to be aware of that may kind of temporarily throw a spanner in the works, but with this kind of potential though, and the fact that there is such gradual energy here, I do feel as though it won't last, that things will, and this could also be why we've got this hint here of betrayal with the snake and the Ten of Swords, that this could be, as I say, a friend of this individual, a frenemy, one of those women who is very attractive and who just likes to get attention, and who doesn't really care, you know, who she kind of tramps over, whose feelings she hurts, as long as she sort of gets her fix of, you know, affirmation. Okay, let's have some final advice from the universe has your back. All right. Interesting. So the advice is I always trust the direction of the universe and know that I'm being guided. And we've got the image of a dragonfly here. So that may be significant for you. In fact, while we're at it, you know, I'm kind of intrigued by this woman. I think let's pull, you know, some tiles just to get some initials here. So I'll pull 3 for each, and then I'll pull 3 for this individual here. Right, so let's see. So we've got 1, 2, whoops, and so that wants to go there, 3, and we'll have here 1, 2, 3, and then okay, and then we've got 3 here, so let's put those here. Alright, so here we've got R, F, and E, and then we've got O, A, and A here, and then down here we've got H, G, and M. So if those initials are significant, then this reading has probably got something in it for you. Alright, but my overall feeling here with this Universe Has Your Back card is that even if there is third-party interference here briefly, it won't last, and I think the key thing here is to really trust in you know, not get triggered or to sort of act from fear, to kind of know that you know, not to necessarily doubt that that there's something good here if it feels very strong, and if it's, you know, if it's been slow growing in the past, then I do feel as though you know, any temporary obstacles will just be that temporary, and then things will you know, will kind of pick up, that ultimately what's meant for us won't pass us by, is what I'm trying to say. But let's just get 3 more trinkets to end the reading. And you know what they say, the path of true love never did run smooth, but you know, as I say, this is only the first, you know, like 2 to 4 weeks in advance, so it's a very brief snapshot of where things are going to be in the near future. It's not necessarily the final outcome. Okay, home. Sailing boat, the ship, and beautiful, the birds. So yes, I really feel very strongly that whatever problems may spring up, whatever spanners kind of come up, there are choices to be made, and that, you know, definitely this couple has rapport here with the birds. This is the 2 lovebirds who have a very strong connection, and things can be smooth sailing if this couple choose them to be. I don't think they have to get involved in drama if they don't want to. So, you know, this person could be given very short shrift. Interesting that we've got the home here. So that could be that, you know, these individuals know that ultimately they're being guided towards each other, that the other individual feels like home to them. It could also be something to do with family. You know, this individual may sometimes, you know, you get those mothers, those kind of MILFs that sometimes like to compete with their teenage daughters, and we do have a subtle hint of that here. We've got the child here, we've got the figure for the mother up here, and then, you know, we've got this Queen of Wands and the snake. So, you know, it could just be you know, one of those mothers who likes to sort of get her what's the word, her strokes from flirting with her daughter's boyfriends. But I don't really think that it's anything that is of a major concern long term. So I think this couple should just really ignore it and keep going, sort of thing, because I think that things will end up being smooth sailing here with the ship. Sometimes the ship can point to distance by, the couple are separated by water, but generally speaking the ship is about forward movement and progress, but it's very often longer. It takes longer to happen. You've got the more short-term energy of the rider here, which is about short-term trips and quick messages coming in, and then you've got the ship, which is about more long-term, or things that take longer to come to fruition, which we get a sense of here with the Knight of Pentacles and the tree, that perhaps this is a slow grower. So things might crop up along the way that call for some choices, and this may also be why we've got these two cards here, these two Leo cards, echoing the Leo energy of the Queen of Wands, where the Strength card is about having the courage to overcome obstacles. This may be a third party interference, and then the Nine of Wands here can sometimes indicate, as I say, this energy of having to be a little bit guarded, or having to have strong boundaries. So it may be that this individual needs to learn to say no, and that could be why we've got the cross here. It's possible that this person is sometimes too nice, and that they let stronger personalities kind of come in and dominate them, and they need to just be very clear about their boundaries. If they're not interested in this person, they need to say so, and kind of give this other person short shrift. So interesting reading. I hope it's been helpful. Do let me know in the comments if it's resonated, but I'm wishing you every success and blessing for 2021, and happy holidays.